Hi, I'm Gory B Movie and I'm a horror addict, and today I'm reviewing the movie The Craft. Directed by Andrew Fleming and starring Fairuza Balk, Robin Tunney, and Neve Campbell, The Craft is about a group of misfit high school girls that form a coven and come into power, but it's not long before that power proves to be too much for them. Now, the reason I'm doing this review is because it's the 20th anniversary of The Craft. The Craft came out in 1996, back when I was still in high school, and I was quite the misfit little goth girl myself. Worried I might be blinded by nostalgia goggles, I rewatched the film today, and I am fully prepared to give you the good, the bad, and the gory. This is still an amazing film, from the settings, to the cast, to the way it completely changed the way we view witchcraft in movies and television. The movie is set in Los Angeles, but it's a completely different Los Angeles than I've seen in any other movie. It has this beautiful, old-world Mediterranean look to it. And because this is a film about paganism, there is nature in every scene. Then we have our cast. Any teenager in the 90s recognized all of these names. There was Skeet Ulrich from Scream, Breckin Meyer from Clueless, Robin Tunney, who had just starred in Empire Records, Neve Campbell, who not long later would be our Sidney Prescott in Scream. But they didn't just get a bunch of pretty faces. Everybody in this film did a phenomenal job. Neve Campbell, we don't call her a scream queen for nothing. The girl has a set of lungs on her in this movie that you wouldn't believe. I normally cringe when I see those characters that are played by beautiful actresses but are supposed to be frumpy and insecure. But in this movie, Neve Campbell pulled it off. Her hair was genuinely pretty greasy in the beginning, which helped with the physical aspect of it, but what really made it believable was her performance. There's also Robin Tunney. We see a completely different side of her than we saw in Empire Records. In this, she's more of like your girl next door. And we can't forget Fairuza Balk. There are scenes in this movie where she's genuinely terrifying, whether it be because she's screaming in some other girl's face, or because she's showing this bit of sadistic glee at watching somebody else suffer. But she's not a cut and dry villain, which I loved. There are moments in here where we see her home life and we see the pain that this character feels and we sympathize with her. Also, despite what you might think, this movie being made in the 90s, the effects actually hold up. Some of my favorites are the butterflies that come into the field, the scene where they're playing light as a feather, stiff as a board, the morph between Nancy and Sarah, and there are loads of smaller little effects, like the effects with the mirrors at the end of the film, and another scene where Rachel True's character looks into a mirror and the reflection does not look back. And of course, since this movie came out in the 90s, we can't talk about it without mentioning the soundtrack. This was one of my favorite soundtracks. It has Sponge on there and Space Hog, and a great cover by Love Spit Love of How Soon Is Now, the Smiths song. That song even went on to become the theme song for Charmed. Even the score is phenomenal. It's beautiful and almost Celtic sounding, and it's composed by Graham Revell. The Craft is also a great movie because of how much it influenced the portrayal of witches in movies and television for years to come. Before The Craft, witches in movies were either whores of Satan, or were riding around on their broomsticks with their crooked noses and their pointy hats. Neither of which is terribly accurate. There was always huge backlash from the pagan community who wanted to see witches portrayed in authentic fashion. The Craft did that. They had a technical Wiccan advisor on set, and Fairuza Balk, who played Nancy, is also a practicing Wiccan. The chants, the initiations, the rituals are all accurate. It also showed basic Wiccan beliefs, like the rule of 3, the belief that whatever you put out into the world comes back to you times 3. The Craft also showed the brutal truth of high school, the bullying, the gossip, how mean girls can be, and how stupid boys can be. This movie was an honest portrayal of high school life for those of us who didn't think it was the best 4 years of our lives. There are a few little effects that don't hold up as well as others, like the scene where Sarah changes her hair color, or the final fight scene where Nancy grows snakes from her fingers and head. Honestly, my only real complaint about this movie is it doesn't really own its R rating. When they filmed this movie, they were going for a PG-13, so we get one F-bomb, no nudity, and very little blood. Unfortunately, what they didn't plan for is that the ratings board decided that any movie that featured high school girls performing witchcraft had to be rated R. That's racist. It would have been cool to see how the movie would be different had the filmmakers known ahead of time that they were going to be making an R-rated film. I think with the nature of some of the characters like Nancy, a few more F-bombs would have been appropriate. So don't expect a lot of blood, guts, or nudity. But this is a witch movie, not a slasher movie, so I say we can let it slide. And hey, there is nippage. As for the blood, it's pretty sparse. However, I feel like this movie makes up for it with its gratuitous use of snakes and bugs. I mean, seriously, like they're coming out of everything. They're coming out of the toilet. They're coming out of the vents. They're dropping from the ceiling. It's pretty awesome. So does it hold up? My answer is a resounding yes. And if you haven't seen The Craft, I highly recommend that you do. Or just skip the viewing altogether and buy it. This is definitely one that you want in your collection for many viewings to come. Cut! Please let me know how you feel about the movie The Craft, or as my little brothers used to call it, The Crap, in the comments. Thanks for watching!